South Korea's tech-heavy KOSDAQ index rose above 1,000 points during intraday trading for the first time in 4 years. A sidecar was triggered to temporarily halt trading to mitigate market volatility. Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Won-sik is now headed to Canada to discuss defense cooperation, including a major submarine project. His visit comes as Canada is looking to acquire up to 12 submarines, a project that's worth over $40 billion. Tensions are growing in Minneapolis after federal immigration officers shot and killed 37-year-old Alex Pretti, making him the second person to be fatally shot in the city during the immigration enforcement crackdown this month. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. South Korea's secondary tech-heavy KOSDAQ index broke above the 1,000-point level at the open on Monday, hitting its highest level this year. The index started the session up 1% from last Friday at 1,003 and traded higher as the session progressed. Heavy buying triggered a buy-side circuit breaker at around 9:59 a.m., temporarily suspending program buying for 5 minutes. This marked the KOSDAQ's first move above the 1,000 level since January 2022. Meanwhile, the KOSPI, which broke the 5,000 mark for the first time last week, went back above 5,000 again in early trading. Meanwhile, Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Won-sik has departed for Canada to discuss defense industry cooperation. Leaving for Canada this morning, Kang told reporters that he will show South Korea's will to join Canada's patrol submarine project, saying that the bidders have been cut down to 2, South Korea and Germany. Canada is looking to acquire up to 12 submarines, a project that's worth over $40 billion. Among the bidders is a Korean consortium involving Hana Ocean and HD Hyundai Heavy Industries. Kang has been appointed as a special presidential envoy for strategic economic cooperation. He's also expected to visit Norway this week for discussions on possible exports of the Chunmoo multiple rocket launcher system. And the Trump administration's new national defense strategy could signal a shift toward a more asymmetric Seoul-Washington alliance. Now, that's according to the director of the Korea program at the Stimson Center, James Kim, on Sunday. His comments come after the Pentagon said Friday that Seoul can take primary responsibility for deterring North Korea, citing its strong military, defense spending, and conscription system. It added U.S. support will remain important, but more limited. Kim said the new NDS reflects a move towards selective U.S. engagement and a reduced regional military role. He added that signs of the shift are already visible, including ongoing efforts to transfer wartime operational control, and warns that broader U.S. geopolitical priorities could further limit American involvement abroad. And civil unrest is growing in Minneapolis after ICE agents shot and killed a U.S. citizen this weekend, prompting Governor Tim Walz to demand the immediate withdrawal of federal forces. Our Kim Do-yeon has the details.
Tensions in Minnesota have reached a boiling point following the second fatal shooting by federal immigration agents in Minneapolis this month. Crowds gathered on Sunday to mourn Alex Pretti, a former nurse at a veterans hospital. Demonstrators marched toward Minneapolis City Hall chanting, "ICE out," braving freezing temperatures to demand an end to what they call an unchecked federal surge. Despite the public outcry and the escalating unrest, federal authorities maintain that their operations will not be scaled back.
Our Title VIII immigration mission continues unabated here in Minneapolis, despite yesterday's tragedy that was preventable by folks making better choices, politicians, journalists, and would-be anarchists and rioters.
State officials are pushing back. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz directly addressed the Trump administration, questioning the strategy behind the federal deployment that has now resulted in 2 deaths, including 37-year-old Renee Good earlier this month.
So my question is, what's the plan, Donald Trump? What is the plan? What do we need to do to get these federal agents out of our state? You thought fear, violence, and chaos is what you wanted from us, and you clearly underestimated the people of this state and nation.
The circumstances surrounding Pretti's death remain disputed. It has been confirmed that Pretti was armed and held a valid license to carry. Authorities claim he intended to harm agents, but video footage from the scene has not definitively supported these claims, and a witness identifying himself as a U.S. veteran stated that Pretti did not appear to be resisting at the time of the shooting. The instability is drawing concern from businesses in the state. The Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, representing over 60 CEOs of major state-based companies, issued a statement Sunday calling for an immediate de-escalation. The chamber emphasized that the business community has been in communication with the White House and local mayors, warning that the current volatility is threatening the state's economic stability. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Staying in the United States, a historic winter storm has slammed the country, bringing heavy snow, ice, and widespread power outages. At least 7 people have been killed and over 1 million households lost electricity, while thousands of flights were canceled as states from the Gulf Coast to the Northeast declared emergencies. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
At least 7 people have been confirmed dead as a massive winter storm continues to batter large parts of the United States, bringing heavy snow and ice from the Gulf Coast to the Northeast. According to authorities on Sunday, the deaths mostly stemmed from hypothermia due to the freezing temperatures. The powerful winter storm has also knocked out electricity for more than 1 million customers, with outages reported as far west as New Mexico. Utility crews are working to restore power, but icy conditions and fallen trees are slowing repair efforts in many areas.
It could take days to restore power, and we know behind the storm, there's more cold air. So if you are stuck without power, you're going to want to find a way to make sure that you can keep your home warm and keep yourself warm for potentially days after this storm.
The storm has also triggered widespread travel chaos. According to flight tracking site FlightAware, more than 10,800 flights scheduled for Sunday were canceled nationwide, following more than 4,000 cancellations on Saturday. Airports across the East and West were forced to shut down or significantly scale back operations as runways and aircraft were coated in ice. Calling the storm historic, President Donald Trump on Saturday approved federal emergency disaster declarations for a dozen states, while the U.S. Department of Homeland Security said 17 states and the District of Columbia declared weather emergencies as the storm intensified. Officials are urging residents to avoid unnecessary travel and prepare for extended power outages, as forecasters warn that dangerous conditions may linger even as the storm system gradually moves eastward. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Former South Korean Prime Minister Lee Hae-chan has passed away at the age of 73. He died in Vietnam on Sunday while on a business trip as the senior vice president of the Peaceful Unification Advisory Council. His remains are scheduled to arrive at Incheon International Airport early on Tuesday morning, with a memorial altar to be established at Seoul National University Hospital. A 7-term lawmaker, Lee was a heavyweight in South Korean politics, serving as prime minister under the Nomuyon administration and education minister under Kim Dae-jung. Often called the kingmaker of the liberal bloc, he was instrumental in the elections of Presidents Moon Jae-in and Lee Jae-myung. The ruling Democratic Party has designated a party-wide mourning period, honoring him as a pillar of the nation's democracy. As part of a special coverage on how Korea-France relations have evolved over the past 140 years, our correspondent Woo Soo-young sat down with France's top curator on Asian art, president of Europe's largest Asian art museum and Knight of the French Order of Merit, Dr. Yannick Lintz.
Thank you, Dr. Lintz, so much for making time for us today.
It's a pleasure for me to welcome you here in Guimet Museum.
Musée Guimet is very well known for being the biggest museum in Europe, holding Korean art, Asian art. And well, first, could you introduce your Korean collection and why it matters as a reference point for Korean art in Europe?
Yes, you're right. We are so lucky to have one of the most important in the world, I should say. And what is also symbolic for us is our museum opened in 1889, and 4 years later, in 1893, we opened Korean galleries. So it's really linked in the history of the museum, and it was at this time in the heart of the collection. So that's why it's of course still now, after many acquisitions, donation, one of the most important in the world, and I should say the most important in Europe. And what is also for us important, 1893 is an important date. It's just 4 years after the opening of the museum, and it's 7 years after the opening of the diplomatic relation between Korea and France. So I think it symbolizes very well the importance of Korea in this museum.
So from a curatorial perspective, what do you think are still maybe under-recognized by the European audience when it comes to Korean art?
My opinion is that here in Europe, we don't know very well Korean art, and it's our responsibility, our mission to promote it better. That's why this year, 2026, we will have a special Korean season in Musée Guimet. Because here, because of the relation with Japan, for instance, and what we call sometimes Orientalism during 19th century, people here know better Japanese art, for instance. They know a little about Chinese porcelain or Chinese calligraphy. But it's for them very difficult to understand the place of Korean arts in this area of Eastern Asia. So I will be happy if in 1 year, with all the visitors we are expecting here for this Korean season, that I can hear, now I understand what, and I see what is Korean art.
You play a very important, very crucial role in promoting Korean art, of course, here in France. And would you say that the recognition has been growing by the year?
Yes, I think, of course, everyone knows about the importance of the Hallyu movement, the K-pop, K-beauty. And we will have here, as the first exhibition of the Korean year in March, next March, a K-beauty exhibition. So I think to be able to be attractive for people to discover Korean art, I think it's interesting to enter in it by the present phenomenon of K-pop, K-beauty. And I think it's a good way to understand the past through the present.
Finally, as we look forward into the year of 2026, the 140th year of Korea-France relations, what kind of meaningful developments do you hope to see as cultural institutions in particular expand cooperation?
Of course, such a special celebration of the 140 years diplomatic relation between Korea and France has to be an opportunity to develop more relation and to build a fundamental project for the future. Of course, exhibitions, books, conference, But also for me, what is important is to know better all Korean artists, musicians, performers, of course, the Korean cinema. So at the end of 26, what I can tell you, it will not be the end of Korean events here in Guimet Museum.
I see there's more to come, and we hope to see you later in the year in Seoul. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Lintz.
Thank you.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said that a historic U.S. security guarantee is 100% ready for signing. He emphasized that this document now only needs a signing date before heading to Congress for ratification. This announcement on Sunday follows a breakthrough weekend in Abu Dhabi, where military officials from Ukraine, the U.S., and Russia held their first direct trilateral negotiations in years. Zelensky said the talks aim to push forward efforts to end Russia's nearly 4-year invasion, but stressed that Ukraine's territorial integrity remains non-negotiable. Negotiators are set to return to Abu Dhabi on February 1st for the next round of talks to finalize terms. In Indonesia, authorities on Sunday resumed the search for 82 missing people after a landslide killed at least 10 in West Java province. Heavy rains, which began the day before, triggered the collapse early Saturday in Pasir Langgu village, West Bandung. Rescue teams continued operations as weather conditions improved, but unstable ground and rain warnings slowed efforts and limited the use of heavy machinery. Officials said the collapse buried homes in a residential area, forcing evacuations and raising concerns about further landslides with more rain forecast for the region. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened Canada with a 100% tariff on Canadian goods if it makes a trade deal with China. Trump said on Saturday that such a trade deal would allow Beijing to use Canada to bypass U.S. tariffs, calling it a direct threat to American economic interests. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney responded on Sunday, asserting Canada respects its U.S. trade obligations and seeks only to rectify specific tariff issues with Beijing, not make a free trade deal. American climber Alex Honnold stunned onlookers in Taipei on Sunday by free soloing the tallest building in Taiwan. Honnold scaled the 508-meter Taipei 101 skyscraper without ropes or safety equipment. He completed the climb in 91 minutes as thousands watched from below, with the event broadcast live by Netflix. The climb took place with official approval from Taipei 101 and city authorities after being delayed 1 day by wet weather. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Deep freeze continues across much of Korea with cold wave alerts remaining in place. And this cold air mass with wind chill will remain in place for a while. Be sure to stay well bundled up. And it's not going to be as freezing as last week, but morning temperatures in Seoul will stay near -10 degrees Celsius. And even during the day, afternoon highs will struggle to climb above freezing in most parts. Turning to precipitation, starting tonight, snow is expected in parts of the western regions. Snow will begin along the west coast of Chungcheongnam-do province in Jeju, continuing into tomorrow morning. The Jeollado provinces could see 1 to 3 centimeters of snow. At the same time, dry weather alerts remain in place for the eastern regions, and with several wildfires already reported, it's very important to be cautious with anything that could spark a fire. This afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 0 degrees Celsius, 5 degrees in Daegu, under partly sunny skies in most areas.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.